You're listening to Boss Ladies and Babies
with Mickey and Megan,
two best friends adventuring through motherhood,
building our careers,
and not losing our shit. Welcome back to Boss Ladies and Babies. This is Megan.
And this is Mickey.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mickey. Happy birthday to you. Tomorrow's your birthday.
Oh, it is.
Comes out, you'll be a year older already.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. No. I'm like feeling very chill about this birthday. I'm like ignoring how old I am. It's going to be very quiet. My husband's working just like me and the kids, COVID style. So I'm like, all I want out of this birthday is a Dairy Queen ice cream cake and a fork. And then I'll be happy until the next year.
I feel like that's very realistic expectations for a COVID birthday.
Yeah. I mean, I'll share if I have to, but...
You did say one fork, so...
I did. Yeah, that's true.
I don't think you have to share.
And I don't think it's sanitary to, like, share birthday cakes anymore, right?
No. I mean, especially if you blow out the candles. That's, like, really, really risky these days.
And there's going to be so many candles. So much spit on that thing.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry you have to have a COVID birthday.
That's okay. It seems like literally everyone is going to have a COVID birthday.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, well, happy birthday. I'm sad we can't be together, but I'm glad we have our podcast date.
Yes.
So we are going to switch gears with this episode a little bit. It's a topic that a lot of us don't really talk about a lot. Bookkeeping. That's right. Bookkeeping. So many of us have some kind of business or side hustle, and so we brought on a really exciting, passionate, knowledgeable mama to chat with us about bookkeeping, and I loved this episode. I think it is perfect timing to come out right now, right before tax time, get the ball rolling, get you organized. She has so many great tips, and I think you all are going to love it. But before we get to that, we got to hit you with our highs and lows. So let's do it. Mickey, do you want to go first?
Sure. Let's see. My high will be that I am now almost completely standing up straight, nice. Which is good. So I'm getting around a lot better. I've been able to like take a full shower without having to like lay down in the tub partway. Like just my mobility has gotten so much better. So I'm thankful for that. I'm still not like 100% back to normal or anything, but from where I was a month ago, it's a huge improvement. So
probably feels like normal, like now,
Yeah, I think I might permanently just have a hunchback because I'm just not used to standing up straight, and so I have to like physically think about it and like train my back muscles to like support my body again, which is so weird. Yeah. But it's working in the right direction. So
yay!
That's good. Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah. My low. Well, I'll tell you guys about my night situation. I just told Megan about it tonight, so I feel like I'm repeating myself, but you guys don't know yet. So I have not been sleeping well. My back pain has like transferred down into my leg, like a sciatic thing. So just at night, it's really hard to get comfortable. And I've been like trying all kinds of different pain medicines and everything, and I just have not found something that takes it away. So I'm like tossing and turning all night. And then on top of that, the last few nights, my dog has been acting super weird and like just pacing through the house with his little toenails, click, 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 all through the downstairs, into our room, out into the living room, upstairs. Like I can just hear him because we have an old house too, so you could hear everyone everywhere. It's so annoying, and he'll do it for hours. And so I like got up last night and went out to the living room to him. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? Do you need to go potty? Like, and he just has been like non-responsive pretty much. Like he doesn't wag his tail. He just like sulks around. Mm-hmm. And usually like he'll let me know if he has to go to the bathroom or something. So like last night I went. He walked over to the couch and he was like sniffing the couch, and I was like, okay, well maybe you need to get tucked in. Like let's tuck you in. Get up on the couch, and I like patted up on the couch, and he like wouldn't get up there. And then I felt around, like I felt something on my hand, and he had peed on the couch,
Ugh.
which is so not him. So I like take him outside, and he went to the bathroom, came back in, and he was just like so weird about it. And
Yeah.
so uh, he finally like I brought him in our room and put him in his bed, and I fell asleep at some point. He fell asleep at some point, but so now I'm like all googling like why is my dog pacing at night
Yeah.
and why did he pee on my couch? My Google search is pretty weird. It's real weird, but there's like so many things that it could be. He's old, so it could be like dementia. He could have like a bladder infection. He could be bored and understimulated. He could be like in pain from something. Ugh, it's just so many things that it could be, and I just hate that he can't just like tell me what's going on.
Hmm.
So I tried to like play with him more today, like get some of his energy out, and um, I don't know. We'll see how tonight goes.
Well, and you guys just went through everything with his health like a few months ago, so you probably don't want to put him through like a bunch of tests at the vet and everything again.
Yeah, yeah, and I was
Like,
like, we just did blood work, like
yeah,
so maybe 2 months ago. So like
yeah,
I feel like they would have found if something was going wrong with him.
yeah,
That's
you would
pretty
think
rapid.
so. Well, is he pacing already tonight, or is it like only when you're in bed sleeping?
Yeah, yeah, like in the middle of the night, from
Hmm.
like midnight till I don't know 4 a.m. or something. So
Hmm.
yeah, and he like sleeps most of the day. So I'm like
Yeah.
maybe he's just not tired. I don't know. So but
Weird.
it makes me nervous. So we're blocking off the stairs so he can't go up to the kids' rooms. I'll just like I might if tonight if he doesn't sleep well. I'm gonna have to like start putting him in his kennel at night, which
Yeah.
I did after his surgery, and they like recommended because then he feels safe and like doesn't
Yeah.
just wander. Um, but yeah, but I just hate to think like that he's getting old. I hope that's
Yeah.
not it, and he's like going dog crazy.
Yeah. Oh man, hopefully not. We can't think like that. He's
Yeah,
probably just bored. Yeah,
probably.
he's probably just bored. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Lame.
yeah. Just
Animal
annoying.
stuff is so stressful.
Yeah, and I love my sleep, and so the fact
Yeah.
that I'm not sleeping just is not fun. It's not
Yeah.
fun.
You're like,
Yeah,
tomorrow is my birthday, so you need to sleep tonight and let me
yeah.
rest.
I know. I'm like everyone. Shh!
Yeah.
Don't wake me up tomorrow.
It's mommy's day.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. All right, so I will do mine. So my high, it's kind of funny, I guess. I started watching Desperate Housewives,
Ooh.
and I used to watch the show like a long time ago. Well, I found out it came out in 2004, so like I was still in high school, and I was talking to my sister about it, my youngest sister, because she's also watching it for the first time because she's
Oh.
only, well, she's, oh my gosh, she's 20 now, but so it wasn't really popular, when she was coming up. So telling her about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna start watching it. I really only remember a couple things. I just remember like the redheaded lady and Eva Longoria's in it, and then that one guy that's like super hot that always has his shirt off. And she goes, "You mean the teenage gardener who's 16?" I'm like, "Oh my God, wait, that's creepy." At this point, I hadn't started watching it again. I'm like, well, yeah, if it came out in 2004, like, yeah, he was probably really hot to me back then.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh.
update, he's still hot. And he's probably not 16 in real life, okay?
Right. Oh, yeah, they
Oh,
use
no.
like 30-year-olds to play 16-year-olds, so it's fair.
It's just
Oh,
funny because she called me out, but it's so weird watching the show now as like back then I was like a kid watching it, and now I can relate so much more like with the moms. So it's really weird watching it. I don't know. I really like it though. So if you're looking for a binge-worthy show, it's on Hulu and it's really, really, really good. Um, my low. So you guys remember last week when I was telling you about Nora's owies and she wouldn't stop picking at them. So this last week when my husband was off from work, he had the whole week off, we decided we're not gonna put her down for naps. In fact, I think I said that on the last episode. So we were skipping her nap. Her poop schedule has always been when she's napping, and she's totally potty trained except for pooping. She only does it like in her pull-up while she's sleeping. And so I thought that was just her schedule. Well, come to find out, without the naps, we got her to go on the potty a few times. And so I'm like, okay, she's just holding it for the pull up. So we got stickers that we were giving her, and it was like just this awesome, exciting thing for her. And she went like 5 or 6 times.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, her owies are much better. We've got her to stop picking them. The girl is so tired. I think I complained about it last week. So we're like, we've got to give her naps and her quiet time back. Now, will not poop on the potty,
Oh.
holds it for nap time and her pull up, which honestly, I don't really care, except for she gets into her bed, she's all cozy, and then she poops, and then she can't sleep. So she's still not napping. At least she's getting the quiet time, but it's like by 5 o'clock, she's done and she's ready to go to bed. And it's like, I want to hang out with you. You can't go to bed yet, you know? So
Yeah.
it's just like, I thought we had her trained, and now stickers aren't cool anymore. So I think I might try like chocolate, which I just don't want to, because I read in my potty training book like you shouldn't reward them for going poop because it's just something they have to do, so you shouldn't like reward them to do it. But you know what? Screw that. Like I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do it
Yeah.
because I need her to poop in the potty so that she
Right.
can sleep.
Yeah. Well, and you're not gonna have to reward her for the rest of her life every time she poops. Like it's
I guess it's
she's
like a
yeah.
control thing though, is what it was
Huh.
saying in the book. This is like
Yeah.
the only parenting book I've ever read because I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with potty training, and it worked. Like girl
Mhm.
was potty trained, like she had one accident like within a
Yeah.
week, right?
Yeah.
But so it's like, yeah, it's like a control thing apparently, but like
Yeah.
whatever, let her have the control. She doesn't get much control in her life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, her control. Oh,
Yeah, like she gets
interesting.
like,
Yeah.
it's like she's getting reward for doing something that she has to do, and then the
Oh,
power's all in her hands.
yeah.
But
Yeah. I don't know. We did jelly beans and it worked. And I've still used stuff to bribe my kids to do things, so I'm like not the person to talk to about that. Sometimes you just need a little help, and then
well, chocolate is how I got her to stop
yeah,
touching her dang owie. I gave her a white chocolate Hershey's Kiss. One day I was like, "You see how tasty that is?" Because she doesn't get candy like ever.
yeah.
And so I was like, "Isn't that so good? If you don't touch your owie, you can have one of those when you wake up." And now every day she's like, "I didn't touch my owie. Where's my chocolate?" So I'm
Oh,
like, maybe we should use that for poop. But
yeah. It's worth a shot.
shot. But yeah. One day when she listens to this when she's older, her mom's talking about her poop schedule.
Yeah, they're gonna hate us. It's okay.
It's fine. All right. Well, switching gears, let's get a little bit more serious. Let's get down to business. So exciting. So, our guest for this episode is a wife, mama to her 4-year-old son, and lives in the Olympia, Washington area. She's a stay at home mom and remote bookkeeper with over 15 years of industry experience for entrepreneurs and small businesses. She's a bookkeeper, not a CPA, and she's going to teach us the difference. By the way, COVID has been very good for her business, and you'll find out why in this episode. So, please welcome to the show, Shantae Bierman of Mama Bear Bookkeeping. Hey, Shantae. Thank you for joining us. We are so excited to talk to you about bookkeeping.
Woo. Yes, but before we dive into all that, why don't you tell our listeners about yourself, who you are, what you do, what makes you a boss lady? Tell us everything.
Sure. Well, my name is Shantae, and I am a stay-at-home mom and bookkeeper. My business is called Mama Bear Bookkeeper because I like to have the backs of all my clients, and I protect their financial interest and them from the perils of bad bookkeeping. I live in Olympia, Washington, and I have a son who is 4.5, and my husband is wonderful as well, and he works in Tacoma, and we're fairly new to the area. We relocated in March just before COVID hit, so it's been a very interesting time of growth and adjustment, but we're making the most of it and just enjoying it.
That's awesome. Well, welcome to the area. How has it been like getting your business up and running in a new area during COVID?
Surprisingly and fortunately, I feel like people before pre-COVID were not as open to doing work remotely because all the work that I do is remote.
Hmm.
So a lot of people were kind of like, oh, it's impersonal, or oh, we can't really trust, someone, or oh, we want someone in the office.
Hmm.
And now that COVID has hit, they're much more just okay and open to the remote aspect because partially it's the only option and partially just because it's something new that people have opened their eyes to and they're like, oh, this actually can work, this is great. So business for me has been great since COVID. I've actually had a lot of growth in that area because people are just okay with taking on someone who is remote, and also I can take on people from all over. They don't have to just be within 20 miles of where I am, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Silver lining. That's
Yeah.
yeah, congratulations.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, I love that you kind of told us what the meaning behind the Mama Bear bookkeeping was because that was one of our questions. We love that name. We think it's so clever. And I was wondering um, if you mostly work with mom-owned businesses or it sounds like you kind of just do everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't turn away anyone who is a non-parent, but I'd say about half of my client base is mom-owned businesses, and then the other half, I work with the moms to do the management portion of it.
Hmm.
So there are definitely moms involved, and basically all the people that I work with are mothers. I have one client that they're just not parents and they're just business partners, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get into the topic of bookkeeping. So, if you could clear something up for me and maybe a lot of our listeners, but what is the difference between what you do and what a CPA does? And how did you get started in your business?
Sure. Well, aside from charging a lot less, um, yeah, bookkeepers and myself, we work with daily business data and we organize it in a clear and accurate fashion that's reflected in various reports, and those reports would be given to the CPA, and then the CPA takes that information and does what they do with it to, input it into tax forms and file taxes from there,
Mm,
for the federal and if applicable for your state taxes. Bookkeepers work with the CPAs to give them that information that they need to file the taxes, as opposed to the CPA doing that type of detective work and organization work, because then they have to pass that cost along to the client, and it saves everyone time for the bookkeeper to just do it
mhm,
themselves. Also, CPAs have nothing to do with your accounts receivable, accounts payable, and payroll. And just to clarify, accounts receivable is like if you invoice a client and they don't pay you right away, or they have a net 30 terms, or even just the invoicing process in general. CPA is not going to bill someone for you, or
mhm,
follow your money for you. And then accounts payable is your bills, basically. So if you owe a vendor for inventory products, or even something as simple as your utility bill, that's obviously not something that they would manage or take care of. And
mhm,
same applies for payroll. And then on the flip side, bookkeepers typically don't file federal and or state taxes in
mhm,
the forms to the IRS. However, submitting something like quarterly sales tax or business and occupation tax payments is different, and that is something
mm.
that a bookkeeper would and could do that CPAs usually don't, assuming that you don't have like a CPA on your staff and they're just someone you visit annually.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so basically you do all the stuff that like we as business owners hate doing. Like
Yeah,
all of that digging and like organizing and figuring things out for the tax time. That's kind of where you come in and save the day.
yeah, totally. It's someone who, unless you go into business to be a bookkeeper, is just not something that business owners should or need to be doing. They're supposed to be managing their business, and bookkeeping is not their business. So yeah, and we just make everything, from our knowledge and experience, we know what the CPA is looking for, what they want to see, what they need, separated and clarified. So that way it just makes their life easier, and they can, just spend an hour versus 4, doing your taxes. And then again, it saves the client money to just have the CPA paid for an hour.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah. That just sounds like my eyes are like, ding. That sounds so amazing.
Yeah, oh my God. Maybe I shouldn't admit this over like public radio, but we just do our own like bookkeeping. I have like a small Etsy store and home business. And I use the term like bookkeeping so loosely because I need a lot of help with that. If I never really think about it until tax season comes along, and then you like panic. So tax time is approaching for all of us. Do you have like a number one piece of advice that you could offer for people to help make things a little bit easier?
Yeah, be organized and detailed. And I know it's easy for me as a person who is just, naturally drawn to bookkeeping and, everything that entails. It's easy for me to just say, oh yeah, be organized and detailed. Because no duh, if it was that easy, I'm sure everyone would do it. But really, I mean, that's all it's going to boil down to, is that even if you don't do your bookkeeping, and I'm putting air quotes on that, on a weekly or monthly or even quarterly basis, if you have an area where you can just go to where the information is and it's somewhat separated out, I mean, that is step number one to making your life a little less hectic and complicated when it comes to tax time. And you start the process of, however people are doing it, if they're doing it themselves, however they do it, it's just, you just got to break it down. And everyone has their own way of being organized and detailed. Another piece of information would be to try and do as much of the work yourself prior to handing it over to your CPA. And honestly, if you can consult a bookkeeper to even just review what you've done to make sure that you did it right, because, organized information isn't helpful if it's wrong. So you can be, have everything in Excel and give it to your CPA, but if it's wrong, then there's no point in doing that at all. You've wasted time and cost yourself money. So, and there are bookkeepers out there. I mean, myself is included in that, where if you just pay someone for 2 hours of review and auditing and just looking at bank statements and making sure that you've got it laid out correctly, then you're good to go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an amazing skill that I am just so happy that there are people who have that skill, because the idea of being detailed and organized for me is something that I do in all aspects of my life. But when it comes to like numbers, it's just like glazed over. Like there is no organized or detailed.
That's
when
what
it
I
comes
hear a
to
lot.
numbers.
Everyone has like a mental block to numbers.
Yes, and I don't know what it is. So can you think of, you mentioned Excel, is there any tools that can help people kind of stay more detailed and organized, especially if they if they don't really feel like it's their thing?
Yes, definitely. So I personally would not recommend doing it in Excel, because I feel that there are better and easier ways to do it, even from someone who is just not used to ever doing their books, so to speak. There are online software programs that allow for automated bank fee imports, like bank transactions importing. And I'm not a sponsor, but I'm going to recommend Wave Accounting. It's really user friendly, and it's for simple and your basic needs, nothing too complex or detailed or really deep into bookkeeping, anything to do with like accrual based businesses. But if it just for cash, even if it's personal or professional, you can use this. I use it for my personal finances as well, and it's made everything for taxes really easy. And my clients professionally use it as well. And if you do your own books, you know, you can create categories in that program that align with deductible costs, as well as you can explain what income and each expense is for without being too specific. Like, you don't have to create a category that says ink. You know, you can just create office supplies, but you also don't want to be too vague where you just have a category that says insurance versus like health, auto, business insurance, etc. So that's a good one. I love wave accounting, and it's just I think it's easier than Excel. Of course, it's possible to do in Excel, and it's the same thing, but you know, you could export your bank statement transactions into Excel, and as long as you have the date, the description, and then you know, put a category next to it that's not too specific but not too vague, then that's definitely one way to do it. And then, you know, sort it however you want to sort it. And then one more thing is, if you're someone who keeps receipts, I hear about receipts a lot. Like, oh, I need a receipt for this. Oh, I have all these shoe boxes of receipts. Try going digital by storing them in Google Drive or a designated email inbox. Like, you know, in Gmail, you can create hundreds of email accounts. So create one that's just, you know, receipts for blah, blah, blah at gmail.com, and just scan it and put it in there, email it to yourself. Try to get everything paperless if possible. So, and a lot of the times you don't even need receipts. It really just depends on what the transaction is. So, I mean, I could go on about receipts for a while, but
I love it. I'm just seeing all these times of me just like digging through my receipts like a crazy person. Oh, that's a really smart idea. Okay, I have a question about Wave. Is it easier than QuickBooks? Because I just downloaded QuickBooks this year. I've been doing all of my bookkeeping on Excel, and I just thought, you know what? Like, I have big goals for my business this year. I'm really gonna up my game and get QuickBooks, and I'm using it, but it's not very user friendly for me in a way that it's really overwhelming. I think it has more to it than what I personally need. Yes. What are your thoughts on, are they comparable or?
So, like, yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head when you said that there's just a lot to it. And there is. QuickBooks offers so much. And for a lot of people, it's just like too much. They are definitely comparable. And I'm speaking to cash-based businesses and personal finances. Businesses that have inventory and accrual-based, I definitely would not use with Wave. The main differences between QuickBooks and Wave, from what I've seen, is Wave doesn't offer a lot of automated things that QuickBooks does, where in QuickBooks you can create rules, and it's pretty smart with their AI. Don't get me wrong, it's not correct 100% of the time, and that can trip people up. But I feel that Wave is more user friendly for people who have simple and basic needs and who are not familiar with bookkeeping processes and what happens when you click a certain button, you know, in QuickBooks. Like, it's when I offer educational services as one of my services for my company, and I was teaching one of my clients, you know, there's 3 buttons in QuickBooks, and when you press this, it does this, and this, it does this, and this, it does this, and it's all different, but you wouldn't know that because there's no like obvious sign of, oh, when I click this, it goes into this and this, you know. It's just it's hard to just speak on to explain versus looking at it. But I'm sure because you've visually seen QuickBooks, there's, you know, add, match, and exclude. But yeah, it's just, it's a lot easier for you to just click a drop down menu, pick a category, and it's done. And that's what Wave offers. And the reports are really simple as well. So nice. I for people starting and with simple needs, I would recommend Wave over QuickBooks. Plus, it's free, and it doesn't come with all the extra bells and whistles that people don't need as well. So,
yeah. And I wish I would have talked to you before I downloaded that, but now I'm gonna be making some changes.
Always switch. It's never too late to switch it over.
Well, I'm mentally just like, writing all this down, doing probably everything wrong. And I know a lot of our listeners have a huge range of businesses, from like small, starting out at home, making crafts in your garage, to like corporations. Who should hire a bookkeeper? Like, what kind of businesses do you usually work with?
So the answer to who should hire a bookkeeper is literally everyone. And I know, like, I'm a bookkeeper, of course I would say that, but the needs of each company or business is going to be different. Now, the person with the smallest startup, just entering the business world, they're not going to need a bookkeeper for 8 hours a day, or maybe even 8 hours a month. Maybe just like 2 hours a month, maybe, or an hour a week here for a phone call. It's just their needs are going to be a lot different from a corporation, that has vendors and 1099 contractors. But again, they could need a bookkeeper for an hour a day, which, comes out to 20 hours a month, maybe more. And with my clients, I have clients that are like that on both ends of the spectrum. I have people who need me every day and people who need me once a month. But if anything, I mean, like I said before, you can get a bookkeeper to review what you have done and then tell you if it's wrong or fix what you've done wrong. But finances are for everyone, small or big. It's just the amount of time it takes and the complexity that they are.
Do you have to own a business to use a bookkeeper, or would you recommend just personal household needs?
No, you definitely don't have to own a business to consult with a bookkeeper. Usually businesses do, just because they're more held to tax liabilities and so on and so forth. But personally, I mean, just to speak to my experience, before I went into business to be a bookkeeper for other small businesses, and my only concern was really my personal finances. I remember the difference between the year that I went to my CPA not putting my stuff into a software program and being organized, and then the next year when I did. It was like all these things that I found, like, oh, I need to make sure that my CPA sees this so I can get credit for it. And oh, this is how much money I'm spending on this expense. I had no idea. I should probably cut back. So um even just on a personal level, I mean, to see how much money comes in, where your money goes. Are you being charged for something that you shouldn't? Are you spending too much on something? Are you not spending enough on something? Do you have money to save? Like, there's just so many things. Should I create a budget? Like, there's a bunch of things that even on a personal level for finance that someone could benefit from, even consulting with a bookkeeper, even if it's just a 1 to 2 hour consultation, or someone makes a budget for you, or just gives you the tools on how to move forward and take control of your finances. And also, if you're in a position where you're in debt, or you're trying to raise your credit score, that can be helpful too. I used to work at a law firm that dealt with credit, debt settlement, and bankruptcy. So I have some knowledge in that area as well. And working there was really eye-opening and beneficial for myself personally. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah, that's awesome. That gives you a whole nother skill
yeah.
set that you can offer. That's amazing.
Okay, so I have a big question. What is the number one mistake that you see people making? And do you have tips on how to avoid that? I'm like imagining the shoe boxes full of receipts and like
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, this is going to be kind of a silly answer, but doing it wrong. That's the biggest mistake is people doing it wrong, because, like, what are you supposed to do with incorrect information? So, but second to that would probably be reflecting transactions incorrectly. Usually when I do consultations with people in the beginning before they take me on, they'll list something as an expense versus a cost of goods sold. So if they're buying, let's see, if they're buying, salt. I don't know. I'm just making something up there.
Yeah.
If they're buying salt, and I'm talking like bath salts. If they're buying bath salts from somebody, and then they go and they have a store and they resell those salts, it doesn't matter, at what price or anything. But if they list their initial purchase of the bath salts as an expense and not as a cost of goods sold, then that would be incorrect because your cost of goods sold can deduct your taxable income. So, something simple like that. Also, the way that people reflect their credit cards, the credit card charges, and payroll liabilities as well. That's another big part. And one way I feel would be to fix this or prevent this would just to be to do some research. Google, watch some YouTube videos, do your best, and then again consult a bookkeeper for a review of what you've done, and see if they offer any educational services. And I offer educational services, as well as auditing services. However, ultimately most people choose to hire me as their bookkeeper because they don't want to actually learn the procedures. It's not the most thrilling thing in the world to learn. And it's not something you can just be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and then start doing it. So
Right.
yeah, it's an option to do education, but you'll see the value once you start to learn everything that you have to think about.
Yeah, I think it's really cool you offer that because there are some people that, like, even if they want someone else to do it for them, they also just want to know how to do it, maybe because that does make them justify the value a little bit more. Whereas there's people like me that are like, I don't want to know, just,
Yeah.
do your magic.
Yeah.
But with that being said, because this is like, if you can't tell, a very overwhelming thing for me.
Mm.
So, what can we do to set ourselves up throughout the year to avoid feeling that overwhelm at tax time?
Yeah. Whew. It depending on your transaction load, just set aside some time on either a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. Again, just depending on how much you're dealing with. The more transactions you're dealing with, I would suggest doing it more frequently. But yeah, your choice, weekly, monthly, quarterly, some sort of time period, to just go through, review, organize your data, or be okay with filing a tax extension and relieve that pressure to file by April. I personally like to get mine done as soon as the year turns.
Me too.
Yeah, so I plan that once December comes around, I got to start sitting down and get everything caught up and sorted. So come, January, first quarter, which is one of my busiest times of the year, I just have a little catch up to do, and then I'll be good to go come, mid-February.
Yeah. Yeah, I just am like a freak about trying to get them done by the time January's over, and then usually we're kind of waiting around for my husband's W-2 to
Yeah.
come back or whatever, and
Same.
so that's always so frustrating, like just the waiting process. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't like waiting until the tax date 'cause that just makes it more overwhelming. But
Yes.
I also have a question about, so a lot of I've gotten a lot of different business advice. Some people say that you should file your taxes for your business quarterly, and some people say you should do it annually. What's
Mhm.
true, or is it case to case?
It is case to case. It depends on their industry. Some businesses have quarterly excise taxes and quarterly sales tax. Some can just file annually on their income tax. When you're getting your business license, it usually says somewhere along that whole process of getting set up. If you're unsure, you can always consult a CPA or the state secretary. Both will be able to answer, but it is industry specific. So,
Okay.
yeah, don't just go and file something if you think you if you're not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember I was a hairstylist for 10 years in a previous life, and I
Yeah.
just remember one of my coworkers, we were booth renters, and she would always file her taxes quarterly, and I always did mine annually, and I'm like, am I doing something wrong here? I never got in trouble, and my CPA told me that's how I should do it, so I just was always really confused about that.
Yeah, with a hairstylist, I mean, again, it also depends on if they decided to incorporate themselves as a business or create an LLC, or if they're purely just 1099 contractors. But just to speak to 1099 income, it is suggested that you pay a quarterly amount based upon your income, purely for the purpose of that come your annual filing. It's not like you owe $10,000 and you're unable to pay and you have this huge debt and you have to owe the IRS and interest and blah blah blah. So it's not a hard, I mean, for 1099, it's not a hard, you have to pay annual, you have to pay quarterly, excuse me. It's just kind of more a suggestion is what I've come to understand from other people that have had that type of income. But that's just for 1099. And again, some people would prefer to do it. It's, it's up to them in that case. But for LLCs or incorporated, it's very industry specific. I personally pay annually.
Okay. Yeah. And then I just thought this would be a good time to even ask this question. So for me, I am an independent contractor. So I always put away 25% for my taxes. Is that the amount that you would recommend as well?
That's a comfortable percentage for sure. I mean, obviously I have no idea what your finances look like.
Right.
But hopefully you have a CPA that is able to find deductions and credits for you come your time to file. Anything from a small business credit to, deductible expenses, any sort of, anything like that could knock it down to where you wouldn't owe the full 25% of your net income. So 25% is a very comfortable amount. I know that with 1099, there's that self-employment tax. So, but again, I mean, you shouldn't be in a position where even if you don't have anything, that it's 25% of your income that's due. That's high, but like I said, it's comfortable. So
yeah, I guess
Washington.
My question is there a percentage number that you tell people, or is that more of a CPA question?
That's definitely more of a CPA question, and it also there is no set number. It would be like if you had a previous year to look at or a previous tax return to look at, it would be easier to determine based upon that. But no, there's not a set amount, and it would be definitely geared towards your CPA. And again, just based upon, because there's income tax brackets, so that too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So many factors involving numbers. So before we even get a chance to do it all wrong, if someone is just starting out, do you have advice for someone that's like just thinking about starting their own business?
I don't have any advice for someone who's just trying to think, considering starting a business, because everyone's circumstances are so different, and advice is definitely not one size fits all. I'm not an expert, but based on my experience, I say go for it, and don't be discouraged if you're not successful within the first year. And always be learning and adapting and know how to prioritize. So I feel like those are the things that I personally have learned out of my experience. And specifically to bookkeeping, if you're looking to start a business, again, consult with someone, talk with someone, get advice from a professional, look into Wave. There's a lot of different kind of services out there that will offer, we'll just do all your back end work and you don't even have to think about it for a small monthly rate. But I've noticed at least 3 times where I've had people come to me and they don't reflect stuff correctly. So I'm sure for some people it works and it's fine, but for people starting out, if they don't know what they need to look for, then I wouldn't suggest going with one of those, one size fits most back end services. But yeah, go for it. Learn, research, and don't be afraid to ask. You know.
That's really good advice. And we're really big advocates over here about if you need help in your business or your life, actually asking for that help. And this is definitely something that you should not kind of try to struggle through yourself if there is that help available to you, which there clearly is.
Definitely. Oh yeah, there's so much, and I learned from working in that law firm that I mentioned previously, that if I had legal questions, that there is just so many lawyers out there that I could just call up and be like, "Hey, I have a question for you. Do you have 10 minutes?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." You know, it's just
Mhm.
as simple as just picking up the phone and asking.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're thinking if you're at a point where this is all sounding really good to you and you might want to hire a bookkeeper, right? You sent us a breakdown on how to tell if someone can afford a bookkeeper, and I thought that was brilliant. And would you be able to share that through the podcast, or is that something that people need to like see written down?
You know, it's definitely easier to have a visual, but I can absolutely talk you through it.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll try my best to make it as clear as possible, but it definitely would help to have a visual. But basically what I'm going to walk you guys through is the breakdown of finding out how much it costs you to do your own bookkeeping versus paying a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know the saying time is money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of is playing into what I'm gonna break down. So these are some hypothetical numbers scenario that we can crunch. So let's say you're a web developer. On a weekly basis, you allocate your time as follows: 32 hours on billable client site development, 2 hours on research, development, and education, 5 hours on administrative tasks such as answering emails, client communication, advertising, etc. And then 3 hours on bookkeeping, such as billing and follow ups and watching instructional how to videos. When you add that all up, it comes out to 42 hours worked per week. Let's say you bill at $95 per hour for site development. Now, if you recall, 32 of those 42 hours were billable hours. So, finding your gross hourly rate, you take that $95 an hour, multiply it by the 32 billable hours. That comes out to $3,040. You divide that by the total of 42 hours worked. That comes out to $72.38 per hour. Does that make sense so far?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm still with you, so
Super.
you know it
So-
makes sense.
That's how we establish the value for your time as a business owner versus just the work that you do.
Mhm.
And we can see now how much doing your own bookkeeping is costing you. So we had said you spend 3 hours doing bookkeeping. So we multiply that $72.38 by those 3 hours, and that comes out to $217.14. Now, I don't charge that much. You're quite an expensive bookkeeper for somebody who doesn't do bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And so based upon those calculations, it's costing you $217.14 a week for non-expert bookkeeping, which if you multiply that by 4, that's $868 a month. That's a lot.
And you might be doing it wrong.
Right, yeah, and it could be totally worthless, and then you'll end up having to pay your CPA a bunch of money. So, and again, it's not funny out of your pocket, of course, so it doesn't look that bad when it comes to your transactions, but time is money. I mean, that $868 could go towards something else. Those 3 hours could go towards something else. Though that could go towards making money, or being with your friends and family, or really doing anything else that you would rather be doing, which is priceless. So yeah, that's how the breakdown works. Is you just find the value for your time and figure out how much time you're spending on bookkeeping, and would rather go to somebody else who could probably do it, in half the time for half the price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoy that, especially if, like, yeah, because especially around tax time and you're like crunching numbers and like what can you afford and how to do this year. That's a really nice way, like nice foolproof way to look at it. I enjoyed that. Okay, well, that brings us to our final question for you tonight. If you could share one piece of advice on how to balance being a mom and a boss lady, what would it be?
That's tough. Because doing both separately is a challenge. But doing both is also a challenge. I would say be like water, as in try to just go with the flow. Give yourself grace. It's a big one. And be okay with the good days and the not so good days.
I love it. Man, you are full of good advice. I'm just like, every advice question that we've asked you, I'm just like, yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. So, all right, we're to our favorite part of the episode where we put you on the spot and ask you to share a time in your life that you have been a total hot mess. It's your time to confess that embarrassing moment. We've all been there, so don't be afraid to go there.
3 hours ago. No, so um I don't know if you guys have ever seen that YouTube video where it like lists all the different kinds of moms, and one of the moms is the hot mess mom, and she's got her shirt is like hanging off her shoulder and she's rocking the mom bun. I feel like that's me, like all the time. I feel like that most days, and especially with this COVID lifestyle and trying to occupy my tiny human who has a lot of energy, for even two adults, every day, all day, and working and getting everything else taken care of, even just, showering and doing laundry. It's a serious juggling act that belongs in the circus show that no one. So yeah, that's my hot mess moment. Some days I have my stuff together for 2 hours as a block, but yeah, I mean I've had hot mess moments where I'm on the phone with Verizon and something catches fire in my toaster and I have to put that out on the phone. So yeah, those are my hot mess moments, plural.
And that voice, I just know that voice, like when you're on the phone trying to keep it together and panic, just chaos is happening in the background.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Raise your hand if you've been there. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a fun episode. So informative. Like I feel just like we need to have some conversations off of the mic here because I'm so excited about everything you've had to say. It just seems like, first of all, it seems like obviously you know what you're talking about so well, and you seem super passionate about it and just very comfortable to work with. Like you could definitely help somebody who is feeling overwhelmed and you just seem amazing. So we're so excited you got to come on and let our listeners know what you have to offer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm here to help. That's my main goal. I went into business to help people who don't have the capacity or need for a full-time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, staff bookkeeper. Because that's what I used to do before I started my own business. Was I just worked for companies and doing accounting. So I'm here to help people on an as needed basis. It's another thing that I say. I'm an as needed bookkeeper. So I'm here to help people who just need someone. Mama Bear Bookkeeper. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Mama Bear Bookkeeper. My website is currently under construction, but you can always shoot me an email, mamabearbookkeeper@gmail.com. And for anyone who's listening today, I'm offering a 30-minute free consultation when you mention this podcast and however you reach out to me.
Awesome.
All right, well, make sure you go check out Mama Bear Bookkeeper, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Boss Ladies and Babies. If you like this episode, be sure to rate, review, and leave us some feedback.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and join the conversation in our Facebook group at Boss Ladies and Babies.
And until next time,
Stay bossy.
bossy.